Well, let's go, Commanders fans, and happy Friday. This will be a quick video. I will be making a preview video, of course, and then probably reacting to the real Austin Ekeler news, like whether they activate him off IR, have him play or not on Sunday. It is Dallas week, guys. I haven't said that not one time. I mean, the rivalry, the feel of the rivalry definitely has felt dead for sure. But it still is Dallas week. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about the old memories and history and stuff like that. So kind of no need. I know we're playing against Cooper Rush or Trey Lance, and the Cowboys announced that. Well, I think it was on the radio. I think Jerry Jones said that they're not going to announce who the starting quarterback is going to be for Sunday, whether it's going to be Trey Lance or Cooper Rush. Now, I do want to say that Cooper Rush, all these people have bonuses and stuff. Like Zach Ertz still has another bonus to hit, stat incentive or snaps incentive to reach another bonus, touchdown incentive. I think Terry has an incentive. Dante Fowler has a sack incentive. If he gets like another half a sack, he gets like a bonus. And Cooper Rush for Dallas has an incentive this year too. And his incentive is Cooper Rush has earned $250,000 incentive by playing 45% of the snaps. If he reaches 55%, he earns another $250,000. He has played in 52.3% of the snaps this season. He said in an interview, he said, "We're aware," he said, laughing when asked if he's aware of how close he is to the incentive. So he, for him to get that incentive, he basically has to play at least 3 quarters. And so if they want to give Cooper Rush this money, and we know Jerry is a penny pincher for sure. He's a penny pincher in free agency. He does pay his players, but at the same time, they have been, him and Stephen Jones have been very frugal with their money for sure. So take a look at that. That is a big deal for whether Cooper Rush or Trey Lance plays on Sunday. But I do want to stick to our guys. Of course, once again, congrats to Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin for making the Pro Bowl as a legit vote. They're the first. It's the first time since 1991 that the Commanders have 11 wins. Also, it's also the first time since 1991 they have a quarterback and wide receiver duo headed to the Pro Bowl. So that was from Nicky Javala. So that's awesome to hear that. I mean, literally. It's 2025, 2024, so what, 30, is that 33 years? Yeah, 33 years ago, we had a quarterback wide receiver duo in a 11-win season. So let that sink in. A whole generation, guys, is really insane. It's just great to see that, man. Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin having an awesome season. I mean, I remember when the Buccaneers game, they couldn't really connect, and then the game against the Giants, they couldn't really connect, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Terry at number 1," and all this stuff, and you know they were able to connect, man. So I mean, they've had an awesome season. Like you see what Terry McLaurin does with a quarterback: 12 touchdowns on the season, 1,000 yards on the season with 2 games left, another 1,000-yard season. He's had an All-Pro season. He's like second with receivers for touchdowns. Jamar Chase is above him, and that's really it. I mean, before that, Terry was getting like 4 touchdowns in a season, 5, 6, 7. Like he never touched double digit touchdowns in a season until he played with a legitimate quarterback in Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels has made him better. Terry McLaurin has made Jaden better. They really have great chemistry, and they didn't have it in the beginning of the season. But once they got it clicking, that Bengals game, once they had that Bengals Monday night game, and Jaden just threw that thing up there, he just lofted it up there, perfect touch, beautiful pass, right into the bucket to Terry, and then the one over the head of Cam Taylor-Britt. I mean, that's when the chemistry just really went crazy and went off, man. So I just love that for those guys. And another stat for Jaden with the Pro Bowl that I want to go over really quick. He joins an exclusive club by earning Pro Bowl honors. Rookie quarterback since 1970 to be named the initial Pro Bowl roster. Not an alternate, but the initial Pro Bowl roster is Dan Marino in 1983, RG3 in 2012 with the Skins, Dak Prescott in 2016, and then Jaden Daniels in 2024. RG3 won Rookie of the Year, and then Dak Prescott won Rookie of the Year, and Jaden Daniels is definitely going to win Rookie of the Year. Dan Marino was runner-up, which is crazy. I got to look back at 1983, who won Rookie of the Year that year. For him to be the runner-up is just pretty darn insane for sure. So, all right, so let's get to the I don't know why I'm playing the injury update. So back in 1991, I'm looking at the Pro Bowlers from the Skins on that roster. It was Mark Ripien and Gary Clark. Gary Clark's the one that made the Pro Bowl. So I was like, man, I thought it would be Art Monk, but no, it was Gary Clark. So Definitely got to do your research. That 1991 season, Mark Ripien made the Pro Bowl. Ernest Biner, Jim Lachey, Mark Schlereth, Charles Mann, Darrell Green, of course, and Chip Lowe Miller made the Pro Bowl that season. So, like I said, and Gary Clark was on that team too. I mean, Art Monk was on that roster too. So, I know I know Art Monk had a great season that year too. Yeah, Gary Clark had 1,340 yards receiving. Art Monk had 1,049, so they weren't that far off. But Gary Clark made the Pro Bowl. Art Monk did not make the Pro Bowl. But yeah, I mean, that's the last time we had a quarterback wide receiver duo make the Pro Bowl. So it's awesome here. All right, so Austin Ekeler here. Let's get to Austin Ekeler first. So Dan Quinn had his presser earlier. He said Austin Ekeler had a fantastic week. Dan Quinn said the team will make their decision on whether he'll play later this weekend. So that's really good news that he had a really, really good week. He also said, he said Austin Ekeler had a great week. They will meet later today to determine his status. Austin Ekeler remains in that 21-day window, must determine whether or not to activate him off injury reserve. So Dan Quinn said he had a great week, man. That's really good to hear. So if it's not this week, he definitely is going to play in the playoffs. For the playoffs. He's definitely going to play in the playoff game, whether it's against the Rams, the Buccaneers, or Eagles. I think most likely it's going to be the Buccaneers in Tampa because the Rams are not trying to win. They're playing Jimmy G, who I'm not going to sleep on, but they're not even starting Matt Stafford. They're probably not going to play Puka. They're probably not going to play Cooper Kupp. They're going to rest the majority of their guys. So it's going to be the backups out there for the Rams. The Buccaneers have more incentive to win. And if the Buccaneers win and the Rams lose, 10-7, both teams, the Buccaneers win the tiebreaker. So I think we're going to play in Tampa next week in the playoffs. But also, we talked about him ad nauseum, how he adds a different dimension to our running back room, to our receiving room, to the receiving game, just the whole playbook in general for our offense, especially with B-Rob kind of looking burnt out towards the end of the season. Do you cut Chris Rodriguez? No, there's no way you can. You might have to keep 4 running backs active and put one less wide receiver out there. That's probably what I'm thinking about doing, or what they should do. Like Bryson Tremaine has been active. He was active. I wouldn't have him active. They brought in KJ Osborne. So the receivers, that's probably the position I'm looking at where you have maybe one less guy active. You got to have Terry. We don't know if De'Ami's going to be back or not. They didn't say him on the practice report yet today or update. So Terry, KJ's going to be active. Jameson has to be active. So Terry, Jameson, Olamide, KJ, that's 4. Luke, 5. And then maybe a 6th guy would be De'Ami if he comes back. So maybe they just have to keep it at 5. If De'Ami's not ready, then maybe you keep it at 5. But I know you want to keep 6 on the active game day for sure. But you could use Ekeler as a wide receiver out there too, just using him in a different dynamic for sure. So maybe the wide receiver is where you look at, because you can't have Chris Rodriguez not out there, man. I'm telling you. So if B-Rob doesn't step up in the playoff game, if he's looking slow and sluggish, then throwing McNichols, throwing Ekeler, throwing Chris Rodriguez, throwing one of those guys. I mean, it is what it is. We got to win the game. So, like I said, I'm a big B-Rob fan, but that's just the way you got to look at it, honestly. You cannot release Chris Rodriguez or put him on. You cannot treat him the way you did earlier in the season, the way he's playing. He's hot right now. He's hot. Marshon Lattimore, not a surprise, but good news is Dan Quinn said, I love the speed he's working with, and he's certainly very close. So he will most likely be playing in that playoff game. And if we play the Buccaneers, I would love to see him against Mike Evans. Somebody commented and said that they're going to be ticky-tacky with the pass interference calls, so it's not going to be exciting as I'm excited to see the matchup. But you don't know which refereeing crew we're going to get. Was it Ed Hockley? I don't know if it was the Hockley crew that we got for the Eagles game. I don't think it was. I think it was a different crew. We got the terrible Hockley crew for the Saints game where they almost got us with the dang not letting the clock. They stopped the clock. That was terrible. But it depends on how the refs call the game. If they let it be physical and let Mike Evans and Marshon Lattimore go at it a little bit here and there, then I think we'll be fine. And I think you can take away, I think Marshon Lattimore may be able not shut down Mike Evans, which he has in the past though, but contain him and not let him have a 2-touchdown, 100-yard game like he did in the first game against her. He had 60 yards, but a 2-touchdown game, and he will erase that. And that will be huge against the Buccaneers. If you can take away Mike Evans, we have a strong chance to win that game. I really believe that. So, but Dan Quinn said nothing but good things about Ekeler and Marshon Lattimore, saying, I love this beat he's working with, and he's certainly very close. But he's going to be out, which is the right thing to do. Hold him out against the Cowboys. You're going up against, I know we lost to the Cowboys earlier with these guys who are second string third string guys like Cavante. No disrespect to Cavante Turpin because he cooked us and he's had a solid season. Jalen Brooks cooked Ben St. Juice and Jalen Tolbert, guys like that. So I'm not going to sleep on the receivers, but I definitely would rest Marshon Lattimore this week for sure and get him ready for Mike Evans or Puka Nacua or possibly A.J. Brown again. Most likely, like I said, I believe it's going to be Mike Evans. So those are the updates on those guys. Pretty positive updates on those guys, though. Whether if they're not going to play this week, then they definitely should be ready for the playoff game, the wild card weekend game. So, all right, you guys, as always, I will be back talking about the preview and other things later today for sure. Hell, Commanders. Peace.